Hey, everybody. Good to have your company. Just going to make sure we're all dialed in. Even though I know it's always dialed in right from the start, I still just need to 100% see that everything's going well. Good to have your company. Thank you for tuning in. This is going to be some fun. It kind of always is. I just wanted everyone to, firstly, to press the share button. If you wouldn't mind, get across that. And let's just spread the word out there for everybody at Knoxville Raceway ahead of our two guests that we have coming up on Wednesday nights with Wade. And just want to say a belated happy Thanksgiving for last week. I hope that you all had a fantastic time and you're able to reflect and spend some time with those that you hold dearest, or at least reach out and through social media or one-on-one, you're able to get around the people that you love. Wonderful to have your company wherever you might be watching on Wednesday nights with Wade. It's a bit of a double whammy from an Iowa point of view for us tonight. One, though, is based in North Carolina. One is based in Polk City, Iowa. So a little bit closer to home for some of the folks in Iowa. Just want to get you across the KnoxvilleRaceway.com Facebook page. For those people that might be joining me for the first time, yes, my American accent is a little sketchy. I'm from Australia. It's my pleasure to each year come over to the NOS Energy Drink Knoxville Nationals presented by Casey's and be involved with the great folks at Knoxville Raceway. I live in Mildura in Victoria, Australia, and it's my great pleasure to have a bit of fun with you guys on Wednesday nights. So if you wouldn't mind just sharing the page, some really big dates coming up that you need to keep an eye on. I just want to run through a couple of them right now. April 17 is opening night, the Pella Motors Craig Ford season opener. June 11 and 12, the Brownells Big Guns Bash World of Outlaws NOS Energy Drink Sprint Car Series. That's June 11 and 12. August 5 to 7 is the My Place Hotels 360 Knoxville Nationals presented by Great Southern Bank. August 8 to 10, of course, you throw that in for the Capitani, the 10th August 8 Capitani Classic presented by Great Southern Bank, where we honor the great man, Mr. Ralph Capitani's memory. August 11 to 14 is the NOS Energy Drink Knoxville Nationals presented by Casey's. And don't forget, when you get across the KnoxvilleRaceway.com Facebook page, you can check out all that. But on the actual website, spool down on the left-hand side and register for the Dirt, where you get all the information in a newsletter. We can tell you about upcoming dates, ticketing information, press releases, all that groovy stuff. So get across that. Plus, of course, our Instagram, our Twitter, and our Facebook page as well. So I'm really looking forward to this. This is going to be some fun. And I realized just before, just speaking with my first guest, that I actually already have a connection with this guy. So not what I was expecting, but I shouldn't be surprised. So press a bit of share if you wouldn't mind, folks. Let's go to North Carolina right now and catch up with Brett Moffitt, who is standing by. Let's just see what I can do here and try and jump in and have a chat with Brett. I'm hoping my Facebook just hasn't suddenly taken a bit of a freeze. Let's just see whether Brett pops in. Really cool opportunity to speak with a very proud Iowan who's doing great things in the NASCAR World Camping Truck Series. There he is. Whew, man, you had me worried for a second there, Moff. How are you, mate?
I'm here. I'm doing good. It's been honestly a really good day for me. So pretty excited to join you here, and obviously love Knoxville, love Iowa, so love to talk about it.
Do you ever get called the Moff, or is that a David Hasselhoff thing with the Hoff?
Every now and then.
All right, well, we can start it now, mate. So I'll just get that, push it out there. It's
that
funny
what
because
you own, yeah.
I didn't realize that you and I have a connection, and it's a pretty radical one, in a young Aussie in Max Johnston, who actually drove at Eldora and a one-off deal with Brandt Professional Agriculture as a backup back in the day. So you're good friends with an Aussie mate of mine.
Yeah, he saw I was coming on the show, and he actually used to live with a friend of mine. And when he was stateside, he's a wild man, but I'll cheers to that. He's a good time. So great guy.
Absolutely. Mate, where do we find you at the moment?
I'm in Mooresville, North Carolina.
Oh, Mooresville.
Just went to Iowa to visit my parents actually last week.
Yep.
So that's what I'm actually excited about. Knoxville is my new home track since NASCAR is not going to the Iowa Speedway anymore. We're going to Knoxville, which is going to be awesome.
Belated happy Thanksgiving to you, mate. How did you spend Thanksgiving?
Just went back, visited my family. Honestly, this year was kind of depressing not going and racing Iowa because that's a great reason to go visit my family and race at a beautiful racetrack and see all my friends' family. We didn't get to do that, so flew back for Thanksgiving, which the weather in Iowa this time of year is not great. So it wasn't the best of times, but I got to see everyone that I love and care about, so it was all good.
Yeah, and of course, Iowa Speedway has some amazing memories for you. We're going to talk about that and a whole lot of other things as well. So, folks, if you get a chance, press share on this and let's sort of spread the word and get the love out there and pump up Knoxville Raceway because it's going to be an epic 2021. Let's go all the way back, Brett. You started off like a lot of people do around the age of 10 in kart racing or kart racing around Oklahoma, Missouri, Iowa, that kind of thing. Where did you first start to race?
Yeah, so I started in Iowa, and honestly, it began as a hobby for me and my father to do together. He was working all the time, and we didn't spend a lot of time together. He wasn't into stick and ball sports, and he met a guy through his men's group at church, actually. And he said, it's a great hobby to do with your son. You spend a lot of time together. And we had no clue what we were in for. It was never thought of as a career. It was just a way to spend time together. We had success in go-karts, moved up to modifieds, started racing dirt, and then it just kind of went from there and snowballed out of control. I would have never predicted this is where we'd be today. So it's been quite the journey. It's been hell and back, but it's all worked out.
I love the fact that it stemmed from church as a men's group. That is a fantastic story. And as you said, no stick and ball stuff. You know, who cares what those kind of guys, what kind of money that those guys are on? Are they really happy, Brett? You know what I mean? Like, is LeBron really happy? He doesn't know how to drive a sprint car. His life is not complete.
Well, I don't know how to drive a sprint car either, but I'd like to find out. Actually, the guys at KCP Racing, Matt Barbara owes me a ride in a sprint car. We made a bet last year at the Iowa Speedway. I came to Knoxville the night before, and I said, if I win the race tomorrow, you owe me a ride in your 410 sprint car. And he made the bet. He might have been a little bit intoxicated, but he made the bet. So I'm calling him out right here. We finished second on the track. The winner got disqualified. So technically we won the race. So hopefully we can make a sprint car debut here soon.
A bet is a bet, mate. So, and it's out there now. So you're right, Matt. But I'm sure Gio can just get his butt out for one night, man. Who needs that anyway? Let's go back to your modified stuff. Man, what an incredible debut. And you're the youngest ever person to win a race at the Knoxville Raceway in modified, just barely a teenager.
Yeah, so I don't think I would have been allowed to run the race had they known ahead of time how old I was. I was 14 years old at the time. And in Victory Lane, I was told, basically, if we would have known that, you probably would not be racing tonight. So it was an IMCA sanctioned race, which their minimum age at the time was 16. We got the clearance and kind of wrote a legal letter saying, you know, I can be treated as an adult. If I get injured, we're not going to press any charges, all that, just so I could race. And so we went there and won the race. And then Victory Lane, they're like, 14-year-old Brett Moffitt wins. And the track guys kind of started, worrying because that wasn't allowed. But yeah, it was a super cool event. And there's a picture I still cherish to this day that there's two really good looking trophy girls kissing me on the cheek. And I was 14 years old and I didn't know what the heck was happening, but I enjoyed it.
Well, it's not like you got caught in dingus, Brett. You know what I mean? Like it's only a slight bending of the rules of running a modified when you're 14 years of age, right?
Yeah, I guess, but dingus is also a good time, so I'll take that.
Mate, it was a phenomenal year that you had. It was ridiculous how many wins you had.
I think it was about 30 out of 80 races that we ran that year when I was 14 years old. And that was kind of, we won in go-karts a lot. And then it was kind of, okay, well, what's the next step? Like we know nothing about racing. My dad's a home builder and it's like, okay, if we want to pursue this, what is the next step? And that was dirt modifieds around Iowa. So we took that and we had a lot of success our first year, thanks to many people outside Bob Harris. We just surrounded ourselves by the right people, and that's everything in racing. And, won 30 out of 80 races, had a good season, and moved up to asphalt late models, and it just kind of kept going. So pretty impressive.
Top 5 in 80% of your races in that year, mate. Like, hello.
I didn't even know that.
That's handy.
I honestly, I had no clue. But yeah, I enjoyed it. I just enjoy racing. I'm a racer. I want to run. I want to win. I still have that hunger till this day of winning races and doing whatever it takes to get the job done. So it's a blessing to grow up in a state like Iowa with so many dirt tracks so close to home. We could run 3 nights a week within an hour and a half of our house, which is pretty amazing. And they were all really good racetracks. So it was a lot of fun.
Mate, 12 years ago, you did the unthinkable. You went to asphalt, dude. You just talked about Iowa being this phenomenal dirt place, and you turned onto an asphalt road, which was the start of something truly amazing for you with ASA racing.
Yeah, it was that was a learning curve for sure. Obviously in go-karts I ran dirt and asphalt. Then modifieds were all dirt, which is what I enjoy, what I love. But obviously if you want to have a career in racing, you got to go asphalt racing. So we went to ASA late model racing. We had a decent year, I would say. My first year wasn't anything spectacular, but we ran really good. So I don't know. It was late models were kind of a wishy-washy thing for me. Like it didn't really click a lot until I went K&N East racing the following year, and then everything just kind of clicks. So I don't know. It's if it makes you feel any better, 12 days ago I just bought another micro sprint to go run at Millbridge Speedway to get back to dirt racing. So I'm excited for that.
All right, that makes me feel a little better. Now we're jumping ahead of myself here, but I want to ask you a question. It's a great question. It's just come up in our messages feed here. What's it like? This is Billy Schleter saying this. What's it like seeing yourself in a video game? And do you use yourself, or are you another truck driver in the game if you play the game?
Honestly, I haven't played the game. I do iRacing a lot, but it's all surreal. Like I don't think of myself as anything special. I still go back to the dirt tracks of Iowa when the IMCA Super Nationals are in town, and I see guys that I was racing against when I was 14 years old, 10 years ago, 12 years ago, 13 years ago, whatever it is. And it's still the same people to me. I was just very fortunate to make it to where I am today. And, a lot of people have said it, but there are a ton of very talented race car drivers out there. So I don't want to take it for granted, but also I think that, you can't put too much weight on it, but it's nice being where I am also.
How old are you, Moff?
I'm 28 now, getting up there.
So I'm figuring for the last 15 years you've been growing that mustache. Am I right? Like, yeah.
No, it started in 2018 when I was running for the truck championship, and about August I was like, thinking, what do we do for the playoffs? Because we'd won a couple races by then. We were locked into the playoffs, and I tried to play hockey growing up. Obviously, I was really bad at it because I didn't make it a career. In hockey, they have the playoff beards and all that. And I'm like, well, I can't grow a beard. So what do we do? And the playoff mustache became a thing because that's basically the only facial hair I can grow that looks, I wouldn't say good, but looks full. It started there. And it takes me about a month to get it right and get it where it needs to be, but it's stuck with me ever since.
So you've been sort of shaving for the last 15 years and cut yourself both times, Brett. That's pretty well what I'm seeing there.
Pretty much. Yeah.
Hey, let's go back to 2015 and Atlanta, because that had to be a surreal moment. Yes, ASA. Yes, NASCAR Camping World Truck Series stuff, but suddenly there's a chance to run for Michael Waltrip Racing and sub in for Brian Vickers.
Yeah, so that was honestly kind of caught off guard, and I still look back to this day, and was kind of thrown to the wolves, if you may. I had 2 truck starts at the time. I had maybe 1 or 0 Xfinity starts at the time. So not the traditional way of doing things. And I was a test driver for Michael Waltrip. So we would basically go to Nashville or New Smyrna or any other track that we're allowed to test at. And they would just run the heck out of me for 2 days straight, which I enjoyed it because I was making a living driving a race car. So nothing to complain about. Well, then the opportunity came out to drive the 55 Dream Machine for Aaron's and Michael Waltrip. And what do you know? It's at a track. It's at a track that is almost a dirt style track where tire wear is huge. You're sliding the car around. Atlanta's obviously a great racing track, and I hope they can never repave it, although that's never going to happen. But yeah, we go out there and I don't have a clue what I'm doing. I'm just running the car as hard as I can every lap. And by the end of the race, Billy Scott, my crew chief at the time, called a great race. And all of a sudden we're on a restart with, I don't know, a handful of laps to go. And there's only 12 cars on the lead lap and we're one of them. So we come in and get tires and we restart 12th and make our way up to 8th and hang on. So it was pretty surreal. I remember one of the biggest things from that day was Carl Edwards came up to my crew guys after the race, which I look up to him my whole life. And he's like, I was protecting the top. I didn't think he was going to go that high in turn 1, and drove by him and we ended up beating him. So that was really special. And just, everything that happened that day, it made it all worth it, I guess. It's a lot of trials and tribulations getting to this point, but that was one day that was truly breathtaking and might have teared up a little bit on that day.
Lap 295. Something fairly significant happened on that lap. Can you recall what that might have been?
209 of that race? Oh, now you're getting...
You led.
I didn't even know that. I didn't even know that.
Yes, sir.
So I didn't... You have more stats than me.
Well, that's because you've got great management, mate. I've got all the information laid out for me. Thank the Lord. But, man, it's a surreal experience. And, of course, you were pretty handy that whole year. 2015 was a real breakout year for you.
Yeah, I don't know. I would say I'd like to do it the right way better. I wish I would have had experience. The whole 2015 year, it was a success and we won Rookie of the Year. But at the same time, every racetrack that we went to that season, it was my very first time there. And it's not your very first time there in a truck or an Xfinity car. It's your very first time there against 40 of the best drivers in the world, stock car drivers wise. Yeah. And so it was a huge learning lesson. I felt like I did decent in the situation, but not great. And that was probably from the lack of experience. But at the same time, I learned a lot that year. And then when the opportunity come up to race trucks and race Xfinity again, I felt like I had a leg up on the advantage because I had been racing on Sundays and I've been racing those 400, 500 mile races against the best guys. So I'm thankful for every opportunity that I get, and you just got to take it and learn what you can and move on.
So why are we talking to some guy from Iowa who's in Mooresville, North Carolina, who races in the NASCAR Camping World Truck Series? Why are we talking to this guy when we're on the Knoxville Raceway page? Well, there's a good reason. July 9. How many sleeps is that, Moff? Have you worked that out yet? How many more sleeps away that is?
Too many. That's
wow,
all I
mate.
know. I am excited to go back to Knoxville and be racing. I was obviously I'm going to race the Xfinity Series full time for Our Motorsports.
Yes, wow.
And which I'm excited about. I raced almost full time for them this year, and we really proved a lot and gained a lot. But the big news for tonight is I will be at Knoxville, and not only will I be at Knoxville, but I'll be racing full time for Nice Motorsports in the Truck Series in 2021. So I got 2 full schedules ahead of me, which I'm excited about. I'm a racer. I just want to race every day of the week. That's why I bought that micro sprint to go dirt racing on Wednesday nights here at Millbridge. That's why I want to do the Xfinity Series full time. And that's why I want to do the Truck Series full time with Nice Motorsports. So I'm excited to go to Knoxville and try to get another win.
Well, firstly, cheers to you, mate. Congratulations.
Thank you.
That's an exciting. I'm on the sparkling apple juice. It's like 10-1 on a
Oh,
Thursday
this
afternoon.
is just regular apple juice. I don't know what you're talking about.
Oh, same thing. I got the same thing. I'm pretty sure yours isn't. That's exciting.
Yeah.
Mate, for you won at Iowa Speedway, so that's an experience that's not new to you, winning in your home state. But can you even imagine what that will be like if you can win at the Knoxville Raceway? And let's go back, you said 28, so let's go back to when you're 14. 14 years earlier, you won in a modified. Can you imagine if you could back that up?
I honestly can't. It would be, that would be monumental, to go being the last winner at the Iowa Speedway, in the NASCAR sanctioning, and then going back to Knoxville. And I mean, I have so many supporters. Like I said, the KCP guys, they're not only, we made a bet with them, but a lot of those guys that support that race team, have supported my career in a major, major way. So, the fact that we get the chance to go and race, obviously that's their home track. That is now my home track, with Knoxville being off, or with the Iowa Speedway being off the schedule. Knoxville is now my home track. That's 40 minutes from where I grew up. So, to be able to go back there is really, really special. And if we could pull into victory lane that night, that would be, I don't even know how to describe it, because it's going to be so crazy. It's going to be such a good race. And I know the NASCAR and the sprint car fans kind of butt heads every now and then, but I'm hoping that us going to the sprint car capital of the world will really bring it together. And I know the Iowans and every neighboring state will really support the race. And that's what I'm looking forward to.
Well, we're loaning you back Kyle Larson, mate. So, you've got him back for a little while. While we had him this year, we sort of, took him back. The fans are going to turn out. This is going to be a real spectacle to see you guys running the boards around the famous Marion County Fairgrounds. Man, it gives me goosebumps just thinking about it. How differently will you have to drive that truck, though?
It's way different, honestly. I being the 2018 champion in 2019, you're in control of, I guess, the rookie meetings. So when we went to Eldora, you get a ton of dirt guys, which, having a modified background, yeah, it's not the same as super late models or sprint cars or whatever, but you have to drive the truck so much different than an actual dirt car, just because of suspension. And yeah, it's challenging, and you got to give it your all, but they're very easy to overdrive, I would say, on dirt. And speaking of Kyle Larson, I'm going to call him out. I want him to come race for, if Nice will have the opportunity for him to come drive Knoxville, he better be there. I can promise you that, because that'd be huge. And I'd like to go toe to toe with him on Knoxville in a dirt truck. So,
Mate,
I would like to try it. I mean, take on the best to beat the best, right? Me and Kyle are friends, so it's all good. But yeah, it's completely different than traditional dirt racing. But I honestly think, Knoxville being a flat track, it's going to put on, I would say, better racing than Eldora. I know that might be frowned upon to say, but I think it's going to give us more racing lanes. I think it'll be better racing, and I might be biased because I'm from Iowa, but so be it.
With the Larson thing, mate, if you're going to tug on Superman's cape, you better have a pocket full of kryptonite, buddy.
Hey, I'll be willing to get my ass beat by him if he shows up. If not, we'll go door to door and try to win the race.
It's going to be such a spectacle, man, because the Duncans do a phenomenal job with that racetrack, with that surface. So I'm seeing 3 grooves, not to put any pressure on the Duncans, but I'm seeing 3 grooves here, mate.
Oh, certainly. That's what, I mean, you kind of look at Eldora over the years, and it becomes a top dominant racetrack because all the banking. I see 2, 3 grooves at Knoxville because of the flat track. I mean, we see it sprint car racing too. It's the most multi-groove racetrack that we see on a major scale, and I think the trucks are going to put on the same show as the sprint cars do. So I think it'll be exciting. I hope to come out on top, but I can't promise you that.
The cool part is it's part of a massive weekend for fans of truck racing and also non-wing sprint racing as well, because the Corn Belt Clash is what that weekend is, which will feature a $20,000 to win non-wing race on the Saturday as well. So, mate, just tell the boys at KCP just to, take the wing off and let you run the next night as well.
I don't know if I got what it takes to do that. I'll try a wing sprint car first before I go that deep. But yeah, I mean, it's going to be a big weekend for the racetrack, for the state of Iowa.
Yeah.
and all the dirt track fans around. It's huge. It's anything we could ask for being Midwesterners, and I hope the turnout is as good as what it's building up to be.
Is there a football allegiance that you have, mate? Do you have a football team allegiance?
Honestly, out of Iowa City or Iowa State, I got to take Iowa City just because it's a better party school. I didn't go to college. I went to Iowa City twice, had a really good time there while I was there. Yeah, that's the only allegiance I got towards them.
So it's based on the party culture, not that. Hey, I respect that, mate.
Isn't that why we're all in dirt racing, right?
Oh, absolutely. Particularly at the
Dinkins?
Knoxville Nationals, because it doesn't get any better than the NOS Energy Drink. Knoxville Nationals presented by Casey's. Mate, we're pumped for you. I know the season kicks off on February 12 at some place called Daytona for the NASCAR Camping World Truck Series, and then you just blow through all those other asphalt places till you get to Heaven's Own half mile.
I can't wait, and I'm really looking forward to it. I think it's going to do huge things for the sport. Hopefully, we'll end up in victory lane, and I'll see you there.
Hey, Brett and Moff, I really appreciate catching up with you, brother. It's going to be exciting stuff. July 9, mark it down on your diaries. Check out KnoxvilleRaceway.com. Get across our Twitter, get across Instagram and the Knoxville Raceway Facebook page. Hey, mate, have a wonderful Christmas. Be safe. Stay warm. It probably gets a little bit chilly where you are. It's in Australia right now. It's about 90 here.
I'm going to get 20 here.
Yeah. You enjoy that.
Yeah, thank you.
Good to catch up with you, my friend, and good luck. We're all excited for you. It's going to be a huge season ahead for you next year, and thanks for your time, mate.
Yeah, I can't wait. Appreciate having me on, and look forward to seeing you at Knoxville.
See him off. Looking forward to it, brother. Very, very cool to catch up with Brett Moffitt. He's got a really amazing year ahead. Now let's go from Mooresville, North Carolina. Let's go to Polk City, Iowa, because that's, zing, 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 zing all over the world here. And hopefully we can go into Matt Moro's race shop. Oh, look at that. Oh, look at that. He's even set up the helmets on the mule up there. He's even got the sponsor logos on the mule. And now he's just trying to connect to the audio. That'll be the interesting bit. So let's see whether I can. There he is. No, there's never any doubt. Matt, how are you, mate?
Doing great. Thanks you, Wade.
I'm sure that you were just tuning in just then, listening to Brett Moffitt talk. Mate, how exciting is that going to be? The NASCAR Camping World Trucks are coming to Knox Vegas.
It's awesome. Well-deserved for Knoxville Raceway to work that hard, Kendra and all the crew there to get that all put together. It's where it should be, along with Eldora. Eldora was great for it, but Knoxville has a big town, Des Moines, Iowa, close that can support it. Knoxville has a whole bunch of support all the way around, the seating surface, the racetrack surface, everything's going to be great. It's a perfect fit for them.
And I'm sure the Duncans are just going to rock that racing surface, mate. I think I'm probably as excited for the Duncans as I am for anyone, because what a chance for them to really put their best greater wheel forward.
So, I've raced Knoxville Raceway, every single race I possibly could have for 25 years. The Duncans have rocked every one of them. So, they don't miss. Those guys do a great job. It's not the same week in and week out. It's a little bit different each week, so it keeps everybody on their toes.
Now, mate, we talked about truck racing, and Atlanta and, Charlotte and all those incredible places with them off. But, mate, we got to go back to, you've got a pretty unique truck racing history as well that not everybody knows about. When did you race dirt trucks? And I guess they're a little bit different to what we're just talking about.
They're way different. They're a whole different class of trucks. These trucks they're fun, they're neat, they're family friendly, they're affordable racing to where about anybody could go do this. I got into it, I raced them for 2 years basically, and I didn't get to run them all 2 years, all the races, because of my Knoxville racing. It kind of got in the way of it a little bit. But what got me into that was my boss at Carl Chevrolet, Carl Moyer, him and his two sons were racing them. Well, my dad and I got in one of Carl's extra trucks, and my dad and I got a race against each other. Well, then a little bit later, my dad decided he wanted his own truck. So my dad and my son and I all got a race against each other. And so we raced dirt trucks, and we got it. It was only on dirt tracks. They were an open motor, so they were high horsepower units. They're real heavy trucks. They have terrible tires on them. The brakes don't work worth a crap. But they were a blast to drive. And it was totally different than a sprint car. The sprint car, the high horsepower, the major downforce with the wings, the big, nice tires, the titanium brakes that stop you on a dime. You know, the dirt truck, you were out of control a lot more than even in the wing sprint car.
Well, there's some guys that drive the sprint car the same way, mate.
Well, that is true. But yeah, not always is that fast, though.
So do you have a picture? You showed me a picture before of your boy and your dad, I think, in that one shot.
I do. I've got a picture. This was the three of us and actually my boss at Carl Chevrolet. This is all of us at the Iowa State Fairgrounds. My dad, my son, and I. This was 3 years ago, and you know, that's just a great moment to be able to race with your father and your son, 3 generations of us. And you know, that doesn't get to happen very often. You know, it was something that we couldn't pass up.
Absolutely, mate. One of my things I have to do every night after the NOS Energy Drink Knoxville Nationals presented by Casey's, I have to have a pepperoni pizza on the hood of my car in the parking lot. The one that's, I'm going to say it's towards Des Moines, towards the cemetery out that way. You know, there's 2 beautiful Casey's stores on that main street. But I've got to have it right on the hood there. I usually have a donut as well, I have to admit. But, man, they're a gas station that makes the world's best pizza. How does that even happen?
Well, hard work. And, you know, the Don Lamberti, the founder of Casey's, I mean, the guy has a unique mind. Exactly. The guy is so awesome of a person to our dirt track racing, to our community here in Iowa, and also in this gas station pizza. You know, people don't understand when you say they have great pizza. They have the best pizza. They really, really do. So it's always been a good fit for me because I might be a little overweight, and I think that has a lot to do with the Casey's pizza.
Generously proportioned, Matt. Let's go with that. You always walk in and you look to the people, you say hi, they say welcome to Casey's, and you walk past, and then you see that magnificent turning, like just that magnificent glass case, mate. There's usually sausage, pepperoni, and you just go, God bless America.
Yep, it's the best thing ever.
Mate, My Place Hotels are a great supporter of yours as well. And of course, they are the naming rights sponsor, along with Great Southern Bank, of the My Place Hotels 360 Knoxville Nationals as well. 360 racing has probably been your forte, Matt, if that's not an unfair comment to make.
No, it's definitely not an unfair comment. I did a lot of 410 racing back years ago, and my relationship with Casey's makes me stay in that 360 class. They have other 410 drivers. They have Brian Brown that is their 410 guy. So, you know, it was just it's a good fit for me to stay in that 360 class. You know, I still get to play in the 410 class every once in a while, but, you know, my main goal was always that 360s when I became a car owner. You know, when I ran, actually how I got hooked up with Casey's General Stores, when I ran the Gil Saunders number 47.
Oh, wow.
And that was where our relationship started. And then I decided I wanted to own my own race car, and I started this 360 program because that's what I could afford to do. And it's been awesome. And Casey's General Store has been on my car, a car I've driven or my car for almost 20 years now. So it's been an unbelievable relationship. And then My Place Hotels, you know, I brought them aboard about 3 years ago, and they jumped in feet first and jumped right into the 360 Nationals as the primary sponsor. And I have a wonderful relationship with them also.
Mate, we talked about earlier before we came on air, you know, the history with your dad's, you know, racing. That he was a guy that started reasonably late in the whole deal, but actually drove for one of the absolute gods of the sport, and a man who's honored at the National Sprint Car Hall of Fame and Museum. And folks, when you go there, you need to spend half a day walking around that place. But my favorite exhibit every time, it never changes, but I always love walking up and getting a sense of it, is the Trossels garage.
Yeah, my dad started racing for Bob Trossel. My dad got it started late in life in racing. He raced go-karts back in the early 80s, and then he got into a late model for 1 year in like 90 or 87, but it was 92. He had a successful business, had some money saved up, and he went to Bob Trossel and asked Bob what it would take to put him in a car. Bob Trossel is a local hero for all of us, a legend here in the Des Moines, Iowa, West Des Moines, Iowa area. So Bob Trossel fielded a car for my dad for, I think, 3 years. My dad drove for Bob Trossel. And, unfortunately, it was later in Bob's career. And, Bob didn't quite have the money it took to have the top end equipment, but it's experience that my dad had and was priceless with him. And the knowledge we got from Bob Trossel, you can't buy that.
And not only that, mate, looking back on it, you can say, my dad drove for the great Bob Trossel. So, regardless of how long it did or didn't go for, he drove for Bob Trossel.
Yes, he did.
Your son, of course, you mentioned before that the 3 generations of you drove the dirt truck. You also have a beautiful little girl named Macy, a daughter as well named Macy, and your beautiful wife. The Moro family, it's pivotal in what you do, right?
It is. So, my daughter, she's out here in the shop with me all the time. She's 9 years old. She loves out in that race shop. She loves help cleaning the trailer. Everything about my daughter just makes me smile. She's just a wonderful little girl. My wife, she's very supportive. My wife doesn't necessarily work on the race car much, but she lets me do this, and that's all I can ask for. And she doesn't complain too much, maybe a little bit about it, but it's not too much. This racing is such a huge commitment. I have to have a full-time job to be able to afford to do what we do racing. So I basically have 2 full-time jobs, even though one's more of a hobby. Yeah,
absolutely. Iowa itself is such a proud motor racing state. And you and I also talked about, apart from Moff, if you go back to Michael Annett and also Landon Castle, the TMC thing, with the Annett family, such an iconic brand. Even for us in Australia, we always remember the TMC, the black Sammy's car was just, even if you weren't a Sammy fan, Matt, you still had to be a black number 1 TMC fan, didn't you?
Well, 100%. And I am not a Sammy fan, but I did love that race car. That car I've got one of its wing panels in my shop, and it's the most beautiful wing panel. That car was always the most beautiful race car. Harold Lynette knew how to do it, and he did it right. So did Sammy. Sammy made sure everything was maintained absolutely perfectly, and it showed. That's why they were as successful as they were.
They used to say it stood for too much chrome, but I don't think that that's ever the case. And I think I remember hearing that Sammy or someone on that truck used to polish like the rivets on that thing as well. Like it was just an iconic landmark paint scheme.
It was, and I remember they had to take their shoes off before they entered the trailer. Right at the door, they couldn't walk in the trailer with their shoes on. They just kept things that nice all the time.
So Polk City is 45 minutes drive north, I think you said northwestish of Knoxville. Do you still get goosebumps when you drive into that gorgeous little city and you see those grandstand, those bleacher lights, and that big flag?
If I didn't, I wouldn't do this anymore. I spend way too much money and time to not have that feeling. And I'm 43 years old and I've raced every race for 25 years. And I do it because that feeling is still there. The day that feeling goes away, then it's probably the day that I will be out of a race car permanently. It's something that we do kind of take for granted, us locals, that we are racing at one of the greatest racetracks in the world. And it is, and I consider that with all the NASCAR tracks. I mean, I would consider it with Daytona, Talladega, Eldora, Williams Grove. I mean, we do have just an unbelievable facility. And I did get an opportunity to race a lot of these little dirt tracks around the Midwest and even a little bit around the country. And I go visit tracks to watch racing. I'm a huge race fan on any kind. And every time you pull into one of these other places, you realize how lucky we are to have Knoxville Raceway.
I should mention Denison's Racing Tees because they now have the winter range for Knoxville Raceway. So get across their links are on the KnoxvilleRaceway.com website. I imagine it's getting to be less T-shirt weather and more hoodie and jacket weather and long sleeve shirt weather in Knoxville, Iowa now?
It's there. I know the ponds and lakes started to freeze here in the last week. We have ice out there every morning. It's frost on the grass out there. We did get an early snow. We got about 4 inches of snow earlier, about a month ago. So it's starting to hit here, and that's never something we look forward to as when you live here. I'm not a big fan of the snow, but what it does do is it gives you more time to go out in the shop and work on stuff.
Absolutely. It's not long. I'm going to say it's not long until the season opener. I think it's around April 17. The Pelham Motors Craig Ford season opener, which you'd already have that sort of, it's almost like those advent calendars. You know how you reveal 1 day, 2 days, 3 days before Christmas? Do you do that with the season?
Well, not yet, because it's still, we got enough time to get everything ready. But when we get down to about 30 days before and your checklist is still pretty long of stuff that needs to get done, then you start checking them off and you start getting a little more nervous and make sure you get your parts and engines ready, cars ready. You know, it's a year-round sport for me. I mean, I have Tyler Derrickson that works on this stuff with me week in and week out, and him and we don't necessarily have to break a sweat in the race shop, but we work all the time in it.
So April 17 is opening night. June 11 and 12 is the Brownells Big Guns Bash, World of Outlaws NOS Energy Sprint Car Series weekend. August 5 to 7, the My Place Hotels 360 Knoxville Nationals, presented by Great Southern Bank. August 8 is the 10th. I can't believe this. Capitani Classic, presented by Great Southern Bank. Then August 11 to 14, the NOS Energy Drink Knoxville Nationals, presented by Casey's. Matt, you would have had a lot to do with the wonderful Ralph Capitani over the years. It still saddens me that we have to have a race in his honor, but it's so appropriate.
It is. And luckily, the first one at least, and maybe the second one, Cappy was there with us. We did have the Capitani Classic, and he was there with us. So he hopefully that showed him how much he meant to our sport and meant to Knoxville Raceway. I did get to know Cappy. Cappy was one of the few promoters I've ever been around that came down after the races and said hi to us, and in the Cappy way. He wasn't necessarily the most social guy in the world, but he was a neat guy. And also, I think maybe he came down there because the alcohol was down there.
There you go. So, you know what I love about this stuff, Matt, is that every now and again someone pops up that's watching that may be reasonably significant to the person being interviewed. Now, if I said Norma Emerson, what would that mean to you?
That is my grandmother. She is the sweetest gal. Unfortunately, she can't hear anything we're saying. So she's probably watching it. My grandma's deaf. So I have to text my grandma. She's just the sweetest lady. She doesn't get to come to the races because the noise does hurt her ears. So she doesn't get to come very often. I have never been to the races, but she follows it. We'll text on Sunday mornings.
So if I did this, she'll get that.
Perfect.
And I need to do one of these at the bottom because that'll be from you. So you better blow Grandma Mara a kiss, mate.
Oh, she knows I love her.
You know, the greatest part about grandmas is you can be an axe murderer and your grandma will still say, well, he probably didn't mean it. You know, they always give you the benefit of the doubt, grandmas, don't they?
That is correct. My grandma not really. She's an ornery one. So yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
Mate, Christmas plans. How does the Moro family spend Christmas?
We're a very small family. It's just my daughter and my son, and then I have one sister and she has one daughter, and my grandparents on my dad's side are gone now. So, you know, it's a very small get together that we do. And we'll see with the guidelines that's going on in our country and our state right now. You know, it's not recommended we have big gatherings. So Thanksgiving was not a gathering. Everybody kind of had to stay apart from each other. But we'll see. We usually do it good. We usually go over to my dad's house and have a big spread. My stepmom, Paula, she does a wonderful job preparing everything. And my dad does a good job too. And go over there, have a great time, spend it with family, watch football. You know, eat too much, maybe have a few beers. You know, it's a great time.
Sometime in the next couple of days, Matt, I need you to do me a favor because I'm all the way over here in Australia, 14,000 miles from you. Can you please go into a Casey's, just get a big old slice of pepperoni and maybe a bear claw and a can of NOS energy drink for me, and just take a picture for me. You can even do that if you wanted, but I want you to put up my Facebook page, all right?
Well, obviously, I'm going to eat it. I'm not going to let that pizza.
Mate, it's really good to catch up with you. Just before you go, I want to say, if you get a chance, folks, get across Methanol Moonshine merch. It's my new apparel range, Matt, that's available through Logo Daddy in Missouri. They'll ship out straight away. We got hoodies, we got jackets, we got tees, we got caps. We've even got an exercise brand, an athleisure wear for ladies called Ms. Methanol Moonshine. So yoga pants and like crop tops, and not for you, but for people that you might know, Matt, right? I'm not judging, methanolmoonshinemerch.com if you get a chance. Hey, mate, it's really great to catch up with you. You and I only ever have a quick little, hey, Matt, what's going on? Yeah, because it's always busy at the Nationals. But, gee, it's good to catch up with you, my friend.
I really appreciate it. It was nice seeing you.
You too, mate. Enjoy some family time. Have a wonderful Christmas. Enjoy Casey's and My Place Hotels. And looking forward to next week, catching up. We never really know who's – oh, yes, I do. I know exactly who's going to be on. You want to know who's on next week's show, Matt? I got an exclusive for you. They're going to be married next week. Does that ring any bells for you? So what if I said that his father is one of the most BAD A55 sprint car drivers to ever strap a helmet on and always ran the wall no matter what, and has a very pronounced set of feet?
I'm still drawing a blank because there's a lot of bad guys, just unbelievable good talents.
Okay, so what if I said that one of the most iconic cars he ever drove was the Eldon Racing Pennzoil number 22?
Oh, well, obviously Jack and Sheldon.
So it's going to be Sheldon and his fiancée, Zan, are going to be on next week's program. We'll be talking about their upcoming wedding. Looking forward to that. Matt, always good to see you, mate.
Nice seeing you.
Have a wonderful night, everybody. Thank you for joining me on Wednesday night with Wade here on the Knoxville Raceway page. Get across that Dirt newsletter through knoxvilleraceway.com. Don't forget to support Casey's and My Place Hotels and all the wonderful supporters of the Knoxville Raceway as well. And if you get a chance, the Denison Racing tees, their winter range looks fantastic, and also Methanol Moonshine merch. Enjoy, everybody. Be safe. I look forward to seeing you on next week's show with Sheldon Hodenshield and, of course, his beautiful fiancée, Zan. Good night, everybody. Be safe.